The Great Hall of Zentara Prime was the largest structure in the known galaxy. Its walls were made of living crystal that changed color with the mood of those inside. Today, those crystals glowed a deep purple, the color of arrogance and power. 12 elder species had gathered here, seated in their high thrones that circled the central floor like judges ready to pass sentence. Ambassador. Daniel Carter walked across that central floor with his head held high. His footsteps echoed in the vast chamber, and he could feel every alien eye upon him. Behind him walked Commander Samantha Price and Science Advisor Melissa Grant. They were the entire human delegation. 3 people representing 8 billion souls back on Earth and another 2 billion scattered across distant colonies. High Counselor Vexer of the Drakari Empire watched them approach with cold amusement in his yellow eyes. He was a towering figure, nearly 8 feet tall, with scales that shimmered between blue and black. His species had conquered 100 worlds over 10,000 years. To him, humans were nothing more than insects who had somehow learned to build spaceships. Daniel stopped at the speaking circle and bowed his head in the customary greeting. He had practiced this moment for weeks. He knew every protocol, every custom, every word he needed to say. But he also knew that none of it would matter. The elder races had already decided what humanity was worth. The Galactic Assembly recognizes the human delegation, announced the Keeper of Records, a small being made entirely of light. You may speak your purpose. Daniel cleared his throat. Honored members of the Assembly, humanity comes before you today seeking fair treatment. We ask for trade agreements that do not exploit our resources. We ask for protection of our colonies in neutral space. We ask only for the same rights granted to any spacefaring civilization. Silence followed his words. Then Vexer began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. It was harsh and mocking, and soon other species joined in. The insectoid Keth clicked their mandibles in amusement. The crystalline Vorax chimed with something that might have been humor. Even the usually dignified luminary flickered with condescending light. The humans come begging, Vexer said when the laughter died down. How delightful. Tell me, Ambassador Carter, what exactly does your primitive species have to offer? Your fleet is a collection of scrap metal. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. You have been crawling among the stars for barely 2 centuries, while we have ruled galaxies for ages beyond your counting. Daniel kept his expression calm, even as anger burned in his chest. We offer peaceful cooperation. We offer new perspectives. We offer friendship to those who would accept it. Friendship? Vexer repeated the word as if it tasted bad. We do not need friendship from lesser beings. What we need is for you to understand your place in the natural order. Humanity exists because we allow it. Nothing more. Melissa Grant stepped forward, unable to contain herself. High Counselor, if you would only review our scientific proposals. We have made significant advances in several fields that might interest the Assembly. Vexer's eyes narrowed dangerously. You dare speak without being recognized? Perhaps humans truly are as uncivilized as we believed. I apologize for my colleague, Daniel said quickly, placing a hand on Melissa's arm. She meant no disrespect. Disrespect is all your species knows, Vexer replied. But I grow tired of this entertainment. Let me make something clear, Ambassador. The Drakari Empire has claimed the 7th sector as our territory. All human presence there will be removed. Daniel felt his heart freeze. The 7th sector contains our mining colonies. Thousands of human families live there. They have built their lives in that region for 3 generations. Then they should have built their lives elsewhere. Vexer rose from his throne and descended the steps until he stood directly before Daniel, towering over the human ambassador. You have 30 standard cycles to evacuate every human from the 7th sector. After that time, any human vessel found in that region will be destroyed. Any human installation will be reduced to atoms. There will be no warnings. There will be no mercy. This is unjust, Daniel said, his voice tight with controlled fury. The Assembly has laws against such aggression. The Assembly has laws for civilized species, Vexa corrected him. Humanity is not civilized. You are barely evolved apes who stumbled upon spaceflight by accident. You do not deserve laws. You do not deserve protection. You deserve nothing. Daniel looked around the chamber, searching for any sign of support. The Luminari looked away. The Vorax remained silent. Even the smaller species, those who might have sympathized with humanity's position, kept their mouths shut. Nobody would stand against the Drakari Empire for the sake of humans. I will bring this matter to the Terran Council, Daniel said finally. They will not accept these terms. Vexer smiled, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Then they will die. It makes no difference to us. The Drakari have destroyed species far more advanced than humanity. We have erased civilizations that were old when your ancestors were still swinging from trees. You cannot threaten us. You cannot fight us. You can only obey or be exterminated. He turned his back on the human delegation and climbed back to his throne. This audience is concluded. Remove the humans from the chamber. Guards approached, tall Drakari warriors in ceremonial armor. They did not touch the human delegation, but their meaning was clear. Leave now or be forced out. Daniel led his people toward the exit. As they walked, he heard the whispers following them. Pathetic, weak, doomed. The crystals in the walls had turned a sickly green. Reflecting the contempt of those within, Samantha Price waited until they were in the corridor before speaking. What do we do now? We cannot evacuate the 7th sector in 30 cycles. It would take 3 times that long just to organize the transports. I know, Daniel replied grimly. Melissa Grant looked pale and shaken. They are going to kill everyone. Men, women, children. And the Assembly will do nothing to stop it. Daniel stopped walking and turned to face his colleagues. His expression had changed from anger to something colder, something harder. The Assembly will do nothing. But that does not mean nothing will be done. He activated his personal communicator and entered a code that only a handful of people in the entire human government knew. A code that connected him directly to the most classified project in human history. This is Ambassador Carter, he said quietly. Priority Alpha. Contact Admiral Hayes. Tell him the day we feared has come. The Drakari have made their move. He closed the channel and looked back toward the great hall where the elder races sat in their arrogance. Certain of their superiority, certain that humanity would crumble before their threats. They had no idea what was coming. Deep in the 7th sector, hidden in the shadow of a dying star, humanity's greatest secret waited. A secret that would soon change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the young species from Earth. The mockery would end. The reckoning would begin. Admiral Christopher Hayes had not slept in 36 hours. He stood at the window of his private office aboard Terran Command Station, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The blue oceans and green continents looked so peaceful from up here. So fragile. 8 billion people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species had just been given a death sentence. His door chimed, and he turned away from the window. Enter. Ambassador Daniel Carter walked in, still wearing the formal suit he had worn to the Assembly. His face was drawn with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him came Commander Samantha Price and Science Advisor Melissa Grant. Admiral, Daniel said, thank you for seeing us so quickly. Christopher gestured to the chairs arranged before his desk. Sit down, all of you. Tell me exactly what happened. Daniel recounted the events at the Assembly in precise detail. He described the mockery, the threats, the ultimatum. He explained how not a single elder race had spoken in humanity's defense. When he finished, the room fell silent. Christopher nodded slowly. I expected something like this. Perhaps not so soon, but it was inevitable. The Drakari have been expanding aggressively for decades. They see us as easy prey. Can we fight them? Samantha asked. Our fleet is not as weak as they believe. We have been building new ships, improving our weapons. Our conventional fleet could not survive a direct engagement with the Drakari, Christopher replied honestly. Their smallest battlecruiser outguns our largest destroyer by a factor of 10. In a straight fight, we would lose. Melissa leaned forward. Then what do? We cannot simply let them murder thousands of innocent people. Christopher stood and walked to a secure panel on his wall. He pressed his palm against it and spoke. A series of code words that none of his visitors recognized. The panel slid open to reveal a holographic projector. What I am about to show you is classified at the highest level, Christopher said. Fewer than 50 people in the entire human government know this exists. After today, you will be among them. He activated the projector. A three-dimensional image appeared in the center of his office, showing a region of space filled with asteroid fields and nebulae. The 7th sector. You know this region is home to our mining colonies, Christopher continued. That is what the public believes. That is what even most of our military believes. But the truth is very different. He zoomed the image into a specific asteroid field orbiting a dim red star. Hidden among the rocks was a structure of incredible size. It took Daniel several seconds to realize he was looking at a ship. But this was no ordinary vessel. It was massive, easily 3 times the length of any Drakari battlecruiser he had ever seen. Its hull was sleek and dark, designed for speed and power. Weapons arrays dotted its surface like thorns on a rose. What is that? Daniel breathed. We call her the USS Sentinel, Christopher said. She has been under construction for 70 years. 3 generations of engineers and workers have dedicated their lives to building her in absolute secrecy. Samantha stared at the image with wide eyes. 70 years? How is that possible? The resources required would be enormous. The mining colonies in the 7th sector were never about gathering resources for Earth, Christopher explained. Every ounce of ore extracted, every refined metal produced, every rare element discovered has gone into building that ship. The entire sector exists for one purpose only: to hide the Sentinel until she was needed. Daniel struggled to process what he was hearing. Why keep this secret? Why not reveal our true capabilities and deter aggression? Christopher's expression grew somber. Because revelation would have meant destruction. 70 years ago, when we first made contact with the elder races, we quickly realized the truth of our situation. We were children stumbling into a room full of giants. The Drakari, the Keth, the Varaks. Any of them could have wiped us out on a whim. Our survival depended on being seen as too weak to be worth bothering with. He pulled up another display showing technical specifications. But while we played the part of the harmless primitive, we were learning. We studied everything we could about elder race technology. We reverse-engineered artifacts discovered on Mars before first contact. Artifacts left by a civilization that vanished millions of years ago. And we built, quietly, secretly, preparing for the day when hiding would no longer be possible. Melissa studied the specifications with growing amazement. These numbers cannot be right. The shield output alone exceeds theoretical maximums. The weapon systems use principles I have never even seen described in scientific literature. The elder races stopped innovating millennia ago, Christopher said. They believed they had reached the peak of technological achievement. Why improve when you are already the strongest? But humanity never had that luxury. We knew we were weak. We knew we had to become stronger. And we never stopped trying. Daniel looked from the hologram to the Admiral. So the Sentinel is our secret weapon. A single ship to face the entire Drakari Empire. Not just a single ship, Christopher corrected. A single ship that can destroy their entire fleet. The Sentinel carries weapons capable of cracking planets. Her shields can withstand bombardment that would vaporize moons. Her engines can outrun anything the Drakari possess. He paused and met Daniel's eyes directly. More importantly, the Sentinel represents technology we developed 30 years ago. What we have built since then makes her look like a patrol craft. The implications of that statement hung heavy in the air. Samantha found her voice first. You were saying we could have revealed ourselves at any time. We could have demanded equality years ago. We could have, Christopher agreed, but we chose to wait. We wanted to be absolutely certain. We wanted enough power that no single species, no alliance of species, could threaten us. And now we had it. A message appeared on his display. Christopher read it and allowed himself a thin smile. Captain Nathan Brooks has just completed the final systems check on the Sentinel. She is fully operational and ready for deployment. Daniel stood slowly, feeling the weight of history settling on his shoulders. What happens now? Christopher deactivated the hologram and turned to face the window once more. Earth glowed below them, peaceful and unaware. Now we send a message, he said quietly. The Drakari believe they can murder our people with impunity. They believe humanity will crumble before their threats. They are about to learn how wrong they are. He turned back to face his visitors. Ambassador Carter, I need you to return to Earth and brief the Council. Prepare them for what is coming. Commander Price, you will coordinate with our colonial defense forces. Keep them ready to evacuate civilians if necessary, but do not begin the evacuation. We will not be running away. And the Sentinel? Daniel asked. Christopher Hayes smiled, and there was something fierce and proud in that expression. Something that spoke of decades of patience finally coming to an end. The Sentinel will do what she was built to do. She will show the galaxy exactly what humanity is capable of when our survival is threatened. The elder races wanted to see what humans are made of. They are about to find out. Captain Nathan Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Sentinel and felt power humming through the deck plates beneath his feet. For 70 years, this ship had waited in darkness, hidden among asteroids, guarded by workers who had sworn oaths of secrecy they would carry to their graves. Now her moment had finally arrived. The bridge was a masterpiece of human engineering. Holographic displays surrounded the command chair, showing every system, every sensor reading, every potential threat within 100 million kilometers. Crew members moved between stations with quiet efficiency, checking and rechecking their equipment. These were the best officers humanity had to offer. Handpicked from every branch of the military and trained in absolute secrecy for years. Lieutenant Commander Ashley Morgan approached the command chair with a datapad in her hands. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor that never wavered, even in crisis. She had served as first officer on 3 different vessels before being recruited for this assignment. All departments report ready, Captain, she said. Engineering confirms reactor output at optimal levels. Weapons are online and calibrated. Shields are standing by. Nathan nodded and studied the main view screen. Stars filled the display, cold and distant, indifferent to the events about to unfold among them. Somewhere out there, a Drakari fleet was approaching human colonies with murder in their hearts. How? What is our status? Nathan asked. Lieutenant Kevin Ortiz responded from the navigation station. Course plotted to intercept the Drakari fleet at the sector boundary, Captain. Ready to execute on your command. At the tactical station, Commander Gregory Palmer monitored incoming sensor data with focused intensity. He was an older man, gray at the temples, with 30 years of military experience behind him. Sir, I am reading 12 Drakari warships entering the sector. The formation includes their flagship, the Devastator. They are heading directly for our colony on Vega 7. Time to intercept at maximum speed? 18 minutes, Captain. Nathan drew a deep breath. This was the moment 3 generations of humanity had worked toward. Scientists, engineers, miners, soldiers, all of them had sacrificed years of their lives for this ship and this mission. He could not let them down. "Open a channel to Terran Command," he ordered. "Admiral Hayes needs to know we are moving." Lieutenant Patricia Vance, the communications officer, worked her console. "Channel open, sir." The face of Admiral Christopher Hayes appeared on a secondary display. Even through the screen, Nathan could see the tension in the older man's eyes. "Captain Brooks, I trust you received our orders." "We did, Admiral. The Sentinel is prepared to engage. Remember, Captain, this is not just about stopping the Drakari fleet. This is about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. Make it count." "Understood, sir." The channel closed and Nathan rose from his command chair. He looked around the bridge at his crew, men and women who had devoted everything to this moment. "All hands. This is the captain speaking," he announced, his voice carrying through every compartment of the massive ship. For 70 years, the Sentinel has been humanity's greatest secret. Today, that secret ends. The Drakari have come to slaughter our people. They believe we cannot stop them. They believe humanity is too weak to fight back. We are going to prove them wrong. Battle stations. The ship transformed around him. Light shifted to combat red. Crew members moved to their assigned positions with practiced precision. The hum of power grew deeper as weapon systems came fully online. "Helm, engage engines. Take us out." The USS Sentinel surged forward like a predator awakening from a long sleep. She emerged from the asteroid field that had hidden her for decades, her massive form becoming visible against the backdrop of stars. She was beautiful in a terrible way, sleek and deadly, every line speaking of purpose and power. Aboard the Drakari flagship Devastator, High Commander Theros watched his fleet advance toward the helpless human colony. He was imagining the slaughter to come, the screams of the weak creatures as his warriors descended upon them. It would be a fitting demonstration of Drakari superiority. His sensor officer suddenly made a sound of confusion. "High Commander, I am detecting an unknown contact emerging from the asteroid field." Theros frowned. "Unknown? What do you mean, unknown?" "The configuration does not match any vessel in our database, sir. It is very large. Much larger than any human ship we have encountered. Show me." The main view screen shifted to display the approaching vessel. Theros felt his confidence waver for the first time. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of his own flagship. Its hull gleamed with a strange dark metal he did not recognize. Weapons arrays dotted its surface in configurations he had never seen before. "Impossible," he muttered. "The humans have no such ship. Their largest vessel is barely worth destroying." "Sir, the unknown vessel is hailing us." Theros composed himself quickly. Whatever this ship was, it changed nothing. The Drakari were still the superior species. One vessel, no matter how large, could not stand against 12 warships. On screen, a human face appeared before him. The man was calm, almost unnaturally so, sitting in a command chair surrounded by advanced displays. He wore a simple uniform with captain's insignia on his collar. "This is Captain Nathan Brooks of the USS Sentinel to Drakari Battle Group," the human said. "You are in violation of neutral space treaties. You have 60 seconds to reverse course and withdraw from this sector." Theros burst out laughing. The bridge crew joined him, their harsh voices filling the command center with mockery. "You dare threaten us, human? With 1 ship against 12? I will enjoy tearing your vessel apart. I will present your head to High Counselor Vexer as a trophy. 50 seconds. Nathan replied without any change in expression. Your arrogance is amusing but foolish. All ships target that human vessel. Destroy them. 12 Drakari warships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma torpedoes streaked across the void. Particle beams carved burning lines through space. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. No ship in the known galaxy could survive such an assault. The Sentinel shields flared to life, a shimmering barrier of energy that surrounded the vessel completely. The Drakari weapons slammed into that barrier and vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed, simply gone, as if they had never existed. On the Sentinel's bridge, Ashley Morgan checked her readings and blinked in surprise. Shield integrity holding at 98%, Captain. Their weapons are barely affecting us. Nathan allowed himself a small smile. Gregory, target their flagship's weapons array. Just the weapons. Let us give them something to think about. Targeting solution locked, Captain. Fire. A single beam of concentrated energy erupted from the Sentinel's forward weapons array. It crossed the distance between the ships in less than a heartbeat and struck the Devastator with surgical precision. The Drakari flagship shuddered violently as explosions rippled across her hull. Thuros was thrown from his command chair. Alarms screamed throughout the bridge. Crew members shouted damage reports in panicked voices. What happened? He demanded, pulling himself upright. Report. Primary weapons array destroyed, his tactical officer replied, voice shaking. Secondary batteries heavily damaged. Shield generators offline. We took a single hit, Commander. Just one. Theros stared at the human ship on his view screen. One shot. One shot from an impossible distance had crippled his flagship. He had never experienced anything like it. No species had ever matched Drakari firepower, let alone exceeded it. Open a channel, Nathan ordered aboard the Sentinel. Let me speak to them again. The communication link activated, and Nathan's face appeared once more on the Devastator's damaged bridge. Chukuma, this is your final warning. Withdraw now, or I will systematically disable every ship in your battle group. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will not allow you to harm our people. The choice is yours. Theros looked at the readings showing his crippled weapons and failed shields. He looked at the massive human ship that had shrugged off everything his fleet could throw at it. And for the first time in his long career, the High Commander of the Drakari Empire felt something he had never experienced before: fear. News of what happened in the 7th Sector spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, every major power had received reports about the mysterious human warship that had faced down a Drakari battle group. Within days, those reports had become legends. A single ship, one shot. The mightiest fleet in the Empire, crippled and sent, fleeing like frightened children. High Counselor Vexer refused to believe it at first. He demanded recordings, sensor logs, testimony from survivors. When the evidence became undeniable, he flew into a rage that left 3 servants dead and his private chambers destroyed. Then he called for an emergency session of the Galactic Assembly, the crystalline halls of Zentara. Prime had never been so crowded. Representatives from species that rarely attended came to witness this moment. Even the reclusive architects, being so ancient they had forgotten their own origins, sent observers. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when the Drakari confronted humanity again. Vexer stood at the center of the great chamber, his scales flushed dark with fury. He pointed at the human delegation seated across from him, his clawed finger trembling with barely controlled rage. This is an outrage, he thundered, his voice echoing off the crystal walls. The humans have been concealing military assets in violation of 17 interstellar treaties. They have attacked Drakari vessels without provocation. They must be punished. Ambassador Daniel Carter rose from his seat with calm dignity. He had prepared for this moment during the long journey back to Zentara Prime. He knew exactly what he needed to say, and how he needed to say it, with respect. High Counselor, I would remind the Assembly that it was the Drakari who threatened unprovoked military action against human colonies. The USS Sentinel acted in defense of our citizens, nothing more. Defense? Vexer snarled. That ship is a weapon of mass destruction. Where did you acquire such technology? Who provided it to you? Which elder race violated the Accords to arm these primitives? No one provided it to us, Daniel replied simply. We built it ourselves. Murmurs swept through the chamber like wind through leaves. The Luminari representative flickered with agitation, her light pulsing in patterns of disbelief. This cannot be possible. Human technology was assessed to be several centuries behind elder race standards. Our scientists confirmed this repeatedly. Perhaps your scientists were mistaken, Daniel said. Perhaps they saw what they expected to see rather than what was actually there. Before Vexer could respond, a new transmission interrupted the proceedings. The central holographic display activated without warning, showing a face that every representative recognized. Admiral Christopher Hayes sat in his command center, surrounded by displays showing human fleet deployments across the galaxy. Esteemed members of the Galactic Assembly, Christopher began. I apologize for this interruption, but I believe some clarification is necessary. You have no right to address this body. Vexer protested. You are a military officer, not a diplomat. Remove this transmission immediately. I have every right to defend my species against those who would destroy us, Christopher replied, his voice firm but controlled. For 2 centuries, humanity has sought nothing but peaceful coexistence with the elder races. We have been patient. We have been humble. We have endured mockery and discrimination and threats without complaint. And we have been repeatedly told that we are worthless, that we are primitive, that we deserve nothing. He paused, letting his words echo through the silent chamber. The USS Sentinel is not our only achievement. She is simply the first we have chosen to reveal. Humanity has been preparing for this day since we first realized that the elder races viewed us as expendable. We developed technologies in secret because we knew that revealing them would invite destruction. We hid our strength because we had no choice. The Keth representative clicked his mandibles nervously. You speak of war, Admiral. You speak of conflict between species. This violates every principle the Assembly was founded upon. I speak of deterrence, Christopher corrected. The Sentinel demonstrated that humanity can defend itself against any aggressor. We have no desire for conquest. We have no interest in empire. But we will not be exterminated. We will not watch our colonies burn while the Assembly does nothing. Those days are over. Vexer stepped forward, his eyes burning with hatred. You think one ship changes anything? The Drakari Empire commands thousands of warships. We could overwhelm you through sheer numbers. We could sacrifice 100 vessels for every one of yours and still achieve victory. Could you? Christopher asked quietly. High Counselor, the Sentinel disabled your entire battle group without suffering any damage. A single weapon strike crippled your flagship. Our shields absorbed everything your fleet could throw at us. And the Sentinel represents technology we developed 3 decades ago. The implication hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. What we have built since then, Christopher continued, makes the Sentinel look like a patrol craft. I sincerely hope we never have to use it. But make no mistake, High Counselor. If you attack our worlds, if you harm our people, you will discover exactly how dangerous a cornered species can become. Humanity did not survive ice ages and plagues and world wars by being gentle. When our existence is threatened, we become something else entirely, something your empire has never faced. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in living memory, not a single elder race had anything to say. Daniel Carter stepped forward into that silence. We are not asking for much. We want trade agreements that do not exploit us. We want territorial recognition for our existing colonies. We want the same respect afforded to any other spacefaring civilization. These are reasonable requests. We believe the Assembly will find it in their interest to grant them. The Luminary representative spoke first, her voice uncertain but genuine. Perhaps we have been hasty in our judgments regarding humanity. A provisional review of existing policies seems warranted. One by one, other species voiced similar thoughts. The Voraks offered to open diplomatic channels. The smaller races expressed support for human demands. Even the Keth, long allied with the Drakari, began distancing themselves from Vexor's aggressive position. High Counselor Vexor stood alone at the center of the chamber, watching his influence crumble around him. For 10,000 years, the Drakari had ruled through fear. Now that fear had been turned against them. This is not over, he hissed at Daniel. The Empire will not forget this humiliation. I hope you do remember it, Daniel replied evenly. I hope you remember it every time you consider threatening humanity again. Remember the Sentinel. Remember what one ship did to your fleet. And remember that there are more where she came from. Vexor turned and stormed from the chamber, his entourage scrambling to follow. The crystals in the walls shifted color as he left, changing from the purple of arrogance to something else entirely gold. The color of respect. Daniel watched him go and allowed himself a small smile. The battle was not over. There would be more challenges ahead, more threats to face, more enemies to confront. But today, humanity had proven something important. They were not insects. They were not prey. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget it. 6 months had passed since the confrontation in the 7th sector. In that time, the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 1,000 years. Old alliances crumbled while new ones formed. Trade routes shifted. Power structures collapsed and rebuilt themselves around a new reality. Humanity was no longer a joke. Humanity was a player. Captain Nathan Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Sentinel. But this time, the ship was not hiding in shadows. She flew at the head of a multinational escort fleet, her position a symbol of humanity's new status among the stars. Luminary vessels flanked her port side. Vorax cruisers guarded her starboard. Even 2 Kef carriers had joined the formation, their insectoid crews eager to align themselves with rising power. Lieutenant Commander Ashley Morgan watched the view screen as the diplomatic convoy approached Zentara Prime, the great crystal. World glittered against the darkness of space. Beautiful and ancient. The heart of galactic civilization. Hard to believe, is it not? She said quietly. 6 months ago, we were preparing for war. Now, we are escorting ambassadors to sign the most comprehensive peace treaty in galactic history. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. The elder races needed a reminder. They had forgotten that stagnation breeds vulnerability. They stopped evolving, stopped adapting, stopped preparing for the unexpected. Humanity reminded them that the universe does not reward complacency. Lieutenant Patricia Vance looked up from her communications station. Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission from Ambassador Carter. Put him through. Daniel Carter's face appeared on the secondary display. He looked different than he had 6 months ago. The weariness was still there, but so was something else. Confidence, pride, the knowledge that he had helped change history. Captain Brooks, Daniel said warmly, I wanted to personally thank you before the ceremony begins. What you and your crew did in the 7th sector changed everything. We did what was necessary, Ambassador. The diplomacy that followed was your achievement. Perhaps. But without the Sentinel, there would have been no diplomacy, only extinction. Daniel paused, his expression growing serious. The treaty is more comprehensive than we ever dared hope. Full territorial recognition for all human colonies. Fair trade agreements with 12 species. Mutual defense clauses that bind all signatories to protect each other against aggression. Humanity will finally have a true voice in galactic affairs. Nathan allowed himself a small smile. And the Drakari? High Counselor Vexer has been removed from power. His own people turned against him after the 7th Sector humiliation. The new leadership under Counselor Ziran is considerably more pragmatic. The Drakari Empire will honor the treaty. They have no choice. They still have the largest fleet in the galaxy, Ashley pointed out. They do, Daniel agreed. But they now understand that size is not everything. Quality matters. Innovation matters. The will to fight for survival matters. The Drakari built their empire on the assumption that superior numbers meant absolute victory. That assumption died when the Sentinel disabled their battle group without taking a scratch. The convoy entered orbit around Zentara Prime. Below them, the great crystal halls waited to witness history. Thousands of beings from dozens of species had gathered to watch humanity take its rightful place among the stars. Nathan addressed his bridge crew one final time. All hands, this is the captain speaking. We have been part of something historic. When the Sentinel was first commissioned 70 years ago, her purpose was to serve as humanity's last defense, a weapon of desperation against extinction. Instead, she has become a symbol of hope. He looked around at the faces of his officers. Men and women who had dedicated years of their lives to a secret they could never share. A mission they believed they might never survive. Today, we escort the architects of peace to sign a treaty that will reshape galactic civilization. Tomorrow, we return to patrolling the borders, ensuring that peace endures. But we should never forget what brought us here. Humanity was mocked and dismissed. We were called primitive and weak and insignificant. And we responded not with aggression, but with resolve. We built something extraordinary. We proved that the human spirit cannot be broken by contempt or threats or fear. Gregory Palmer spoke up from the tactical station. Sir, what happens to the Sentinel now? With peace established, does she still have a purpose? Nathan considered the question carefully. The galaxy is vast, Commander. Peace with the elder races is a beginning, not an end. There will be new threats emerging from unknown regions. There will be new challenges that test our strength. There will be new opportunities for humanity to prove itself. The Sentinel will be ready for all of them. He turned back to the view screen as shuttlecraft began launching from the convoy, carrying diplomats toward the surface of Zentara Prime. Besides, he added quietly, peace is fragile. It requires protection. Someone needs to stand guard while civilization flourishes. That is our purpose now. That is what the Sentinel was truly built for. Below them, Ambassador Daniel Carter stepped off his shuttle and onto the gleaming platform that led to the Great Hall. He was accompanied by Admiral Christopher Hayes, Commander Samantha Price, and Science Advisor Melissa Grant. They walked together. 4 humans entering a chamber where their species had once been laughed at and dismissed. This time, no one laughed. Representatives from every elder race rose to their feet as the human delegation entered. The luminary glowed with warm, welcoming light. The Vorax chimed in harmonious greeting. Even the Cath bowed their insectoid heads in respect. At the center of the chamber, a pedestal held the treaty documents. Real paper, the traditional medium for agreements of this magnitude. Daniel approached it with steady steps and picked up the ceremonial pen. He looked out at the assembled species, beings who had once considered humanity beneath their notice. He thought about the workers who had built the Sentinel in secret, never knowing if their sacrifice would matter. He thought about the millions of humans across the colonies who had lived under the shadow of extinction for so long. He thought about the future, bright with possibility, that awaited their children and grandchildren. Today, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the great hall, we write a new chapter in galactic history. Not a chapter of war and conquest, but of cooperation and mutual respect. Humanity is honored to join this community of civilized species. We pledge to be worthy partners, faithful allies, and tireless defenders of peace. He signed his name with a flourish. One by one, representatives of every signatory species added their own marks to the document. When the last signature was complete, a wave of applause swept through the chamber. High above in orbit, Nathan Brooks watched the celebrations begin. The Sentinel hummed around him, patient and powerful, ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. Helm, he said quietly, hold position. Let us give them this moment. He stood at the viewport and gazed down at the shining world below. Humanity had come so far, from caves and campfires to the stars themselves. They had been mocked and threatened and nearly destroyed. But they had survived. They had endured. They had grown stronger, and this was only the beginning. The USS Sentinel hung in the darkness, a guardian watching over the dawn of a new era. Her mission was not over. It would never truly be over. For as long as humanity reached toward the stars, there would be challenges to face and enemies to overcome. But that was fine. That was what humans did best. They faced impossible odds and found ways to win. They turned mockery into motivation and fear into fuel. The galaxy had learned that lesson. They would not soon forget it, and somewhere in the depths of space, hidden installations continued their quiet work, building new wonders, preparing new surprises, ensuring that humanity would never again be vulnerable. The Sentinel had been the first revelation. She would not be the last. For humanity was just getting started.